Being 7:02 p.m., I'm going to call the meeting to order. I need to announce that we are being broadcast live but taped for rebroadcast. I need to know if anyone else is making a recording of this meeting. Okay. The first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for Masad Family LLC relative to the reconstruction of Faith Avenue, portion of Faith Avenue. Is there a motion to reopen the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay.
All right, for the record, I'm Michael Scott. I'm an engineer at Waterman Design Associates, and I forgot my
Your
easel this evening.
Do you want to use the dry erase board? Does that help? Or?
Yeah, I think that would be the easiest thing to do. I hope to make this brief tonight. Just to recap quickly, the last time we were here, several weeks ago, the joint meeting with the board, there's a lot of discussion about how this project could be approved as it was originally submitted. And I think at the end of the meeting, the consensus was that it probably could not be approved the way it was originally submitted. The following day and several days, there's a number of email and phone correspondence and conversations occurred. We tried to boil that down for our client, Mr. Massad, and the short of it was that, as I said at the end of the last meeting, it seemed like the easiest way or the quickest way to expedite things and proceed would be to discuss and look at an alternative alignment for the road, which would reduce the amount of wetland alteration. Brian from our office had a conversation with Joe Bellino in that period. We've also had a number of conversations with Margaret Washburn. In effect, what they both told us was pretty much what we talked about last meeting. If the total disturbance to any of the wetland resource areas, be them what had been there, what's been built since the project started, was reduced to under a total of 5,000. Both felt that you could at least as a commission act. I think we all agree on that. The plan you're looking at is what was originally submitted. And it's up there for one reason really, just to show and remind everyone that the idea was to run Faith Avenue from where it comes north off of Washington Street to where it loops along and is parallel to the Max Pike ramps, just to connect it more or less in a straight north-south direction, or as straight as we could get, shortest road possible, as far from the building that's been constructed. We met with David Massad, I met with him, and we talked a few times over the last week. What this shows is something that Mr. Massad is willing to have us engineer to a far greater extent. What you see in red is the outline of the right-of-way that accompanies this road. So in other words, this line, which would be the western side of the right-of-way, and this bold line, which would be the eastern side. And what we did was we pulled the road downhill towards the building. The right-of-way moved about 35 feet on the northern end, and it has to stay more or less where it is on the southern end because that's where we tie in. It could continue to come this direction, but that would create an even longer reversing curve. And we end up with a road that ties in somewhat farther to the east on this edge of Faith Ave. This building is the same as this building. Nothing from this face of the building to the east, would change. The big difference is right in this portion of the site. The shaded, colored in green is the wetland resource area today. The dashed line here is the outline of the replication area. Some of this was replication that was constructed over the last year or so. The disturbed area in here represents less than 4,400 square feet. It's on the order of 4,330 or somewhere thereabouts. And that number was derived from the total of being limited to 5,000 that we could ask for. The 4,400 plus roughly 600 that was required from a prior order totals the 5,000. So we would contend that this 4,400 plus that original 600 in round numbers is under the 5,000. It's a little less. We're proposing mitigation in this dotted green area versus what we had at 6,000 here. We have 5,000 square feet of replication, so we'd still get the 5,000. As I said, the road moves over. Effectively, the Massads are losing 6,000 to 7,000 square feet of usable, what had been usable area, if you will, on the earlier plan, they're building a slightly longer road in order to do this, maybe 50, 80 feet. All the, let's say, all the pertinent and other infrastructure that's associated with the filing, the original application, in other words, the drainage mitigation, the landscaping, all those sorts of things, the maximum 80% on site would all have to be rethought. We haven't gone that far, but what we were able to tell the masses is they lose about 22 parking or storage spaces in the front of the building. That's the reason we were trying to keep the road as far over as possible. The building still meets setback requirements, the lot area, all of those things still work. Those are planning concerns, but they're things that we have to factor into the design. So I guess, again, to summarize, we've moved the road some 35 feet on the northern end. It allows us to reduce the total from what had been calculated around 6,000 down to around 5. The Massons probably give up about 6,000 square feet additional land on the west side of their property. That would become a future parcel that would be either offered up for sale or donated to someone or made part of the right-of-way, depending on how that plays out with the planning board. They would end up with constructing a slightly longer road, all the same mitigation in terms of stormwater and so on, the same utilities, and then the smaller wetland replication area, which we believe would be viable in that portion of the site. We're farther down gradient. This is the Johnson Seaman building, which is here, so you can see that we've moved the wetland some 20 to 30 feet away from their property. There were some concerns expressed on their part about the potential for damage from groundwater and also just the buffer zone that would be created on their property. So those have been lessened, or would be if we take this out to full design. We'd still use a retaining wall along this edge of the road to reduce the amount of filling to the west. There would be retaining walls in this part of the site. Those are on the property. They're actually the same. You see the same retaining wall on both sides. This might change slightly when we go to full design, but it's in the buffer zone. It's actually out of the buffer zone, and it's already in an area that's paved. So we just want to present this, get an idea if we're going in the right direction. But the big issue, I think the biggest thing to understand is, they still want to, they still feel like they need to get as much space out of the total site they have out there, inclusive of this piece that's theirs today, after the road would go in. So we feel like it's a compromise that's legitimate. It's a compromise that allows the commission to act. I think DEP would concur with that. We didn't discuss it explicitly with them, but we did discuss it in advance of the hearing. And Margaret Washburn made similar comments, both in her original report and subsequently during phone conversations and emails, that she believes that this is an approach that can at least be considered. So I guess I'm not asking for a vote by any stretch, but as much we'd like to advise the board that this is the way we're headed, and if there are any immediate concerns, I'd rather hear them now than get way down the road. So.
Just to add to that, Scott did send an email out today, basically outlining what he was going to talk about tonight, and he CC'd Margaret Washburn and Joe Bellino on it, and to myself. And I did speak with Mr. Bellino late this afternoon because he had seen your email too. And he said certainly it's something the board can consider. I mean, you're very close to the 5,000 square feet. You're giving yourselves like 25 square feet left over, but
probably about 100. In total, we'd be around 100.
Well, I was just going by your email. It said 4,400 plus the 575 from before, and only left 25. But anyway, whatever it is, Bellino's did point out that it is still discretionary filling on the part of the board. It's not, it's not a done deal. But, there are still other factors that were in Margaret's last report, and I meant to ask, Michael, did you have an opportunity to watch the meeting?
I watched the meeting and I read Margaret's report and also the submittal by Waterman. So
that's great.
I'm up to speed on this.
Super. Yeah, so basically I think it's something, Joe Bellino did say to me, I wonder, we had no idea what it was going to look like, what you were going to show us. He still brought up the fact that, is there any way that they could have less impact? Can they do a partial span? Can they do, what can they do? And of course I realize you're only in the concept stage, so it's kind of hard to know for sure, but it is feasible. It is, and Margaret sent me an email this afternoon, late this afternoon, and she said, you know, that it could be feasible to do it. But, and of course, you know, you've got a lot of details still to come up with.
Oh yeah, no, it needs to be fully re-engineered. We're just looking
Right.
at if this is going to be just as objectionable to any
Right.
party, we don't want to go to that stage.
It looks like it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
How's
giant
that?
Step, I think.
It's encouraging.
What do you think you're going to need in terms of time to get us a new plan?
We've got to redo the road profile. We need a couple of weeks. I don't know that a 2-week meeting makes any sense at this.
September?
Yeah, I would say carry it out. And you know, what we told when I met with David, we actually walked it in the field. It was very easy to see where the road would go. As it's laid out, we can certainly get somebody. We can get the commission a copy sooner than later. As we get, you can always have a site walk to gauge where things are. There are physical features on the plan that are easily identifiable in the field. So, but I would say that I think, you know, we're working for the masses. Their push has been, if we're going to do this, it needs to be a win for him as well. Understanding that he's in effect recognizing you have flexibility in granting a note or an order of conditions. It's discretionary. Everyone understands that. But he's looking for that level of, I guess, buy-in. Presuming we can engineer it the way we did before that satisfies Graves, we address any concerns of Ms. Washburn that would remain. Many of them would go away by virtue of, you know, the redesign, changing, getting it below 5,000 first and foremost, moving things. Maybe give her a little more time to review it in advance of a hearing, all that, maybe work out some of the details. But that's where we're headed. So, and you know, obviously we would apprise the planning board of this tomorrow, just to where we stand, that we've discussed it with you. Let Adam know that, Mr. Birdie know that we need that extra time. But we provide them the same documents we provide you as last time. We expect Graves would re-review it. I suppose Ms. Washburn would re-review it. And
right.
Yeah, exactly. So you said in moving the proposed replication area a little bit further away from the neighbor's property, does the buffer zone still extends onto the
there's a
property?
buffer zone there today. There would be more buffer zone in one portion of the property.
There would be more, okay.
Less than the original proposal, considerably less.
Right,
But
less.
there would be more than today.
More than today, but less than proposed
Yep.
originally.
Yep.
Okay. Comments from board members? No comments?
I think it looks better than what we looked at last time, but as he said, it's a work in progress.
Okay. Dan? I know you just came in, so you didn't really have a chance to hear any discussion, but,
I'll get caught up later.
pardon me?
I'll get caught up later.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Any questions at this point? Okay. So I know you already asked your question, so I didn't know if you had anything else.
No. So, I mean, do you think 9/11 is realistic for the next meeting, Mr. Scott?
Yeah, that ought to be doable.
Okay.
We'd certainly know well in advance if something's hanging us up. But
Okay. All right then. So you're obviously amenable to continuance.
absolutely, if I need to sign something.
Yeah, I'll get that out.
All right then. Is there a motion to continue this to September 11th?
Do we have anything else on that evening?
I thought this probably might be, oh no, right now, no.
Okay, I would.
9/11, nothing.
I move to continue the public hearing on this matter to September 11th at 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay. Thank you very much.
I need to sign something.
Yeah, let me just grab it.
The 12th anniversary. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
12 years.
It even sounds, when you say 9/11.
It is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, sure.
I'm going to fill out the rest. I'm going to fill it out.
It doesn't matter, I can.
You can
Okay,
read your own
thanks,
handwriting
Mike.
better than mine. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay. Being after 7:15, we had a public hearing scheduled at 7:15 on an ADRAD filing for the Packagug Acres Daycare Center at 141 Auburn Street. And is there a motion to open this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Who's here to address this?
Hi.
Hi. Do you want to have an easel, or do you want to use the board up here?
Use the board?
That's great.
Just for the record, I'm Joseph Martin, I'm the executive director.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
here too.
Joe. Nice to meet you. I'm Sheila.
Hi, Sheila, nice to meet you.
Good evening. My name is David Feist. I'm the project engineer. With me tonight's Joe Martin, the owner of the property. He recently purchased it. Just to give you a little history, I guess the property has been vacant for a while. Long time ago it was a gas station, and more recently it was in use as, I think, a restaurant a few years back. We're here tonight for an ANRAD. We're in the process of working with Joe to design a daycare facility for the property, but before we got too much into the design, we wanted to make sure we verified the wetlands on the property. We had Ecotech go out here last fall and actually flag the wetlands for us before we had completed most of the survey work. And basically, this sits on this side, I guess, of 290 or 395. It's right near one of the exit ramps near the high school. There's a drainage ditch that comes along behind the properties along Auburn Street that feeds basically a 24-inch concrete pipe that goes under the property in back of the old gas station. And then there's an open ditch that's in the woods here that flows for a while to right about here. And then that goes into another underground pipe, which again then comes down there, I think either Perry Street. There's another, I guess, river that this whole area feeds. Based on Ecotech's report, they're identifying this as an intermittent stream. It has less than a half square mile of a watershed area. They estimated about 0.14 square miles. I done just was out there last Friday. I think it's a little less than that, but we're still be under that 0.5 square miles, which in that case would only have, I think, a 100-foot buffer zone. And that's one of the reasons we're here tonight too, just to basically present that. And the second thing was they did also identify just a small isolated wetland. It was off the property over on the side here. There was I guess a sewer line that came through here the town of Auburn owns. And there's an easement across our property for that sewer easement.
While you're right there, I did notice in your letter that you indicated that you didn't put that isolated wetland on your plan because it was off your property and it wasn't within the buffer zone. However, Art Allen from Ecotech does indicate in his letter to you, or to Mr. Martin, that that is still jurisdictional under the old Auburn Wetlands bylaw. So you do have that part to look at.
Correct.
On this.
Although part of it, right now, our proposed project, we won't be within 100 feet of that area.
Okay.
So that, and it is off the property. And again, not being part of Mr. Martin's property, we didn't want to include it in this particular filing.
And not knowing what your layout though was for the proposed project, it was hard to tell.
Okay, and I
The
can...
100-foot buffer zone, you know?
Yeah, and then the second half of why I'm here tonight, I do have just sort of a preliminary layout, just because I wanted to get some feedback from the commission also before we started our design. So I guess at this time I'll take any questions, I guess, related to the actual wetlands flagging.
Questions?
I haven't been out there. Certainly I'd like to take a look. Has anyone been out to see
Dan
it?
Carpenter and I went out
I know where it
Monday
is.
night
Okay.
and we looked at it, and you know, it seems the part that the intermittent channel that's open, the flags seem pretty well, you know, it's pretty easily definable because there's not a lot of vegetation along the edges of the stream. You know, the only thing is, and the rest of it is contained. It was an intermittent stream apparently years ago. It probably was open, but it's now enclosed within that culvert, as he described. Now, do you know where? We didn't walk up grading of this. Do you know where this comes from? What the source of this is?
My best guess, based on looking at the assessor's maps and driving around out there during the rain on last Friday, it looks like it runs all the way where Auburn Street sort of curves around. There's a lot of flow that comes off all these properties behind here. So it's about halfway, I think it's at Oxford Street that's up at the top of the hill.
Bryn Mawr. It's
Ave.
like 13 and 15 Bryn Mawr Ave is in the back, and I think it's coming at 15 and 17.
Yeah, right at the end of Bryn Mawr Ave. And I know also the town of Auburn's, you can see this catch basin. There's from about Bryn Mawr Avenue down the right side of the road to this catch basin takes a lot of Auburn Street's drainage. And it looks like that pipe is also tied in to this drainage pipe as well.
Okay. So it seems to come mostly from stormwater, up gradient, and then this flows down by Perry Place.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting setup. Even if you see in the town's drainage system looks like it ties in here and possibly up near Bryn Mawr Avenue.
Yep.
Also.
I've heard stories from longtime Auburn residents about how things used to look in that general area, you know, before things got filled in and put in pipes and hidden, and, you know, very different from what it was like.
They dug some test holes out there, and I heard a lot of stories too, and I was expecting to find a lot of stuff out there, and they haven't hit anything yet.
Thank God.
I know.
No bodies.
I know.
That's a good thing. So, well, questions, anybody? You haven't been out there, you know where.
I know where it is. I haven't
Frank and Nancy's.
walked it.
Yep.
So did you want to show us, as part of this process, you wanted to show us the proposal?
Thank you.
Yep.
Or talk a little bit about what you want to do?
Yep. And then it's, and also want to take the opportunity while we're here, before we get too far into our design, just to find out, because I didn't see any sort of setbacks in the bylaw, and wanted to find out for construction purposes. What I'm showing here is basically, we're proposing to demolish the existing building that's there currently. On here, I just get these lines represent the 100-foot buffer zones from the wetlands that are shown on the plan. That'll be demolished, and then there'll be a paved parking lot in the front with a new 3,500 square foot daycare building on the back side of the pipe. The existing garage building, we intend to keep that just as a storage building for the facility. There'll be a playground area on the side where the field is, and then some more parking along the side here. And you can see the blue line is the pipe. We're not intending on removing that, but as part of one of the other questions I have for the commission is sort of 4 things that we have to take place before we can get too far with our drainage design. One of which is we have to do soil testing for the project. And currently what we're thinking for drainage, just preliminary, is having 2 stormwater basins on this side of the property. Most of the stormwater flow comes down towards Auburn Street now. There's also a large amount of flow that actually comes down off of Putnam Lane and works its way through the woods and flows into this drainage area here. And we do not want to disturb this 24-inch pipe. I know Bill Coyle, the town engineer, I think is asked to have us evaluate that pipe, either having a camera inspection so we can see if it's still structurally sound in order to leak, because it's been there for quite a while. But as far as the soil testing part of it, we will proposing the basins within 100 feet of the wetlands. How does the commission typically handle soil testing or preliminary work? Can that be handled with a request for determination, or would a notice of intent have to be filed?
For testing purposes? You can do testing.
Okay, within the 100 foot. Some towns I know they have separate.
Yeah, we don't have anything in our bylaw. We're working on a new bylaw, but the new one, I don't think. The new one is,
We can always put it in our regulations.
we could put, yes, we could add it to the regulations.
Okay, so that's.
But, yeah, for right now.
And then the second thing it has to have is demolishing the building, and there's a small portion of it that is within 100 feet of the wetlands. And would that need a notice of intent just to demolish the building, or would a request for determination be?
It's within the 100 feet?
Yeah, this portion right here of the existing building.
Well, my opinion is a request for determination, but.
Yeah, I think a request for determination.
Okay. And then the other sort of the 2 questions, we're going to have a company camera inspect the lines. This end here is very silted in. Like if you go out there and look at it, you can't. I've been out there during the heavy rains and the water does disappear. So it does find its way to this pipe. The old plans from the town do show a head wall or some sort of inlet structure, but it's since been totally silted in. And wasn't sure if the town maintains that, or again, you know, for maintaining the ditch, to uncover that, that's something that we could include in a request for determination, or save that maybe for once we get into the construction of the project.
I would say, my opinion, put it in your notice of intent with your project design.
Okay.
And you know, too, with your demolition of your building, is it not timely for you just to add that to your notice of intent for the whole project? Instead of doing
I know,
Tuesdays?
Joe, originally you intended to demolish the building earlier,
Oh,
sooner.
Okay.
So that was one of the reasons we wanted to come, as opposed to waiting.
okay.
Is that something you would wait till we have the whole project designed, or would you rather get that done?
I'd prefer to take the building down.
Okay. I was just trying to, you know, save you a step.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But I think it's gonna take us a while because the architect hasn't even been chosen yet.
Oh.
And to be honest with you, you know what that looks like over there. And, you know, I'm constantly driving by and the doors are open, so people are trying to get in there. And I think somebody took a bunch of stuff out of there. And
Okay, that's fine. I
So-
just, you know, that's fine.
so I was honestly just waiting to talk to you before we did it. We have everything into the town for the permit to demolish it. And I was just waiting to talk to you first.
Okay.
And I guess with the drainage, as far as our layout, there is some, there was an environmental company, because there were gas tanks here a long time ago, that had some issues, but we checked, the CMG Environmental did the work, and we're gonna be able to pave over this area, and I think so that we won't be, you know, trying to limit any excavation we do in that area because of where the gas tanks.
Was it 21E done on the
Yes.
property?
Yep.
It came up clean?
Not clean, but they did do, I guess, a phase 2 environmental, as well as they're working with DEP now, and I think for having AUL on the property, on that particular
Oh, really?
area.
Okay.
So, but it's below, I guess, whatever standards. I'm not an expert in that particular part, other than it is okay to basically put a parking lot over it.
All right.
Okay, anything else?
Are there any, I guess, we were just intending on keeping a 20 to 25-foot setback from the wetlands with our design. Is there any restrictions, or is that any other requirements you'd have?
Well, right now, under the, you know, we have not implemented our new bylaw. Right now, under the Wetlands Protection Act, you can design right up to, as long as you don't allow anything to enter the wetlands, so
Okay.
if you're 25 or 50 feet away, whatever it is, but, I mean, you know, you're gonna have to stabilize the area between your project and, you know, during construction, erosion controls, whatever, but, right now, depending on when you get this in, we're good, but,
Okay.
you know, we're desperately trying to get our regulations done for our new bylaw, but,
Now, under the new bylaw, is there do you have a no-build zone or any type of?
what did we put? I can't remember what, I thought it was 25 feet.
I think it might be.
We've been working on these for months, but we just finally got a draft thing, you know.
I'm not sure where it is.
Okay, that's-
We can
yeah,
get
that's
back to you on that.
That's fine. And again, we're not really intending on going any closer than that. We just want to make sure we keep the correct buffer when we put our stormwater basins.
Yep.
Work with the land within 25 feet of bank of vegetated wetland is lawn.
25 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sheila.
Reduction of final.
Okay. All right, so, are there any other questions from anybody?
No.
All right, then, is there a motion to close? Your Ann right here?
Well, Mike said he wanted to look
I'd
at
like
it.
to take a-
I'm sorry.
I'd like to take a look. I mean, I can go on Saturday, and I'm sure it won't take very long.
Okay. And all the flags are out there still.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw some Monday. So are you agreeable to continue?
Till when?
So,
Next meeting, August 28th.
August 28th.
The last Wednesday of the month.
yeah, I can make that.
Mr. Martin, when do you hope to demolish the building?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
So we could probably file the request for determination
Yeah, August.
next week, and, you know,
Yeah.
whenever that falls in the meeting schedule.
Yeah, we're
Sure.
not going to get that onto the next agenda, though. It's too bad. So, yes to continue?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a motion?
Make a motion, we continue to August 28th. Do we have anything, Sheila, on?
Yes, I do have 7:15, the school.
Okay, so 7 o'clock is clear?
Yes.
So I'd say 7 o'clock.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Looney is here, I see.
Yes, I see that too. I don't know where they are on the agenda.
Kettlebrook site visits.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can take that now, out of order, but Dan and I, Dan Carpenter and I went over there Monday night too. We went to the end of Rockland Court to take a look, and I tried to get in touch with Bill Coyle because it was hard for us to tell. I don't know how wide their right-of-way is over there. They definitely have cut a lot of trees. They've been chipped, they've been removed. There's some still there. We looked from the top of the, it's quite a drop down to where, where their right-of-way continues for their transmission lines. But they did cut up to Kettlebrook. But again, I tried to call Bill Coyle to see if I could find out if he knew about if he was familiar with the width of their
It's
easement.
250 foot, I've got that right on the
Yeah,
plan
but
here.
I can't tell, we couldn't tell from where we were how wide 250 feet was. So I didn't know if DPW had been over there or not.
Right here.
It was pretty clean from what we could see. There are no erosion controls. But if they're cutting within their right-of-way, they probably should have some erosion controls, but if they are within their right-of-way, they're within their rights to maintain their right-of-way.
Because here's the Rockland Court coming down right here.
Wasn't the issue that came up in the other meeting that they had not previously cut to the limit that they were allowed?
Yeah.
And now they are going all the way to the
edge of
nth
their
degree of
that's
the
my
zone they are
understanding.
allowed to.
Yeah, it's a clean shot. And then we went down to Oxford Street at the bridge, where the bridge crosses right by Rochdale Street and Oxford Street North.
Right.
And we looked up, up the brook to take a better look. It's a nice, neat, clean, shot all the way up the hill. But
from Packagug Street.
I mean, yeah, I've
all
definitely
the
been
way down.
noticing the cutting, like in the
Yeah.
right of way off Packagug, and
right, it's huge.
I mean, I'm just looking at people's properties, and
Right.
it's unfortunate for the homeowners because you
Right.
look at where their trees have been taken out that were within
Their
the
right-of-way.
right of way.
And unfortunately, people don't realize that even like with the town or the state, when they're widening Route 12, for years and years you might have had, a lawn there, you might have had a parking lot there. You don't realize that it's not necessarily your property, it's within their right of way.
Take
Right.
care of it, but it's not.
Just because it's customarily only been cut maybe to
Right.
75% of the width doesn't mean they don't have the right to cut the
full
rest
width.
of it.
And since they're doing that major change of transmission lines all the way through, I'm sure they're trying to clean it. I mean, it's a major undertaking. If you look at it up on Packagug Street, like Louise said, it's just, it's amazing.
It really affects the view on from different
It
people's
certainly
properties.
does. It certainly does. But I didn't know if I don't have a contact person at National Grid, but I thought Bill Coyle might, and maybe we might want to contact them to inquire about, the extent of their cutting activity as it relates to the boundary line of their right of way, because without physically going down there, and
Well, you'd have to walk it off too.
you'd have to measure it.
But right.
They don't have to mark it, like mark where they're...
Well, I'm sure they know what their right of way, what the
Right.
boundaries of
I mean,
their
there were
right
a lot
of
of
way are.
survey stakes there, but I don't know what they mean. So I didn't know if the board might want to consider communicating with maybe if we could find out who a project manager is or something for National Grid, just to inquire.
But sending a letter to Bill Coyle.
Yeah, and see if maybe he could, or to National, asking him if he has a National Grid contact.
Yeah, I mean, I'll move to send him a letter just inquiring about what contacts he has with National Grid and just inquiring about the cleaning or the cutting that's going
Yeah,
on
just
in
see if
their
he's
easement.
aware, because he usually knows what's going on in those types of projects.
Right.
And if not, or if he can direct us to somebody at National Grid, just so we can find out, is there going to be more cutting? Is this the limit of it? Are they at their limit of their right-of-way? That's basically what we really need to know. Dan, did you have anything else you wanted to add about our visit over there?
No, I mean, looking at the plan, it looks like they're, just eyeballing it. It looks like they're within the right of way, but again, that's just eyeballing it. That's not
Measuring it.
definitive enough. And where we should find out, especially where they're not keeping up with the erosion controls. I mean, we don't want things in the water that shouldn't be there.
No.
So I would second Mike's motion that we send a letter to Mr. Coyle inquiring.
What insight he may have.
Well, I think at the very least, if he doesn't have a contact, he certainly is more than capable of going there and giving us an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. If not him, his assistant. You know.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Oh, before I guess, do you folks have anything else you want to add?
They are within, that's 250 feet is the width of the right of way, according to the plans that I've seen. The layout of all the plot lines for the houses is 250 feet. It's centered on that tower that's at the top of the hill there at Rockland Road Court. So it's 125 feet one way and 125 feet on the other side. That's what it says there.
And they measure their right-of-way from the center of, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
They measure the right-of-way from the center of the
Center
tower?
of the tower. Now, when we originally had, when they originally proposed this project, everybody went down to Millbury. Mrs. Johnson up on Packagug said that National Grid had moved, increased the width of their right-of-way. And the edge of the right-of-way went right through her living room. And she said, I have the original papers from when my grandfather sold the right-of-way. She said, and here it is. And it was nowhere near that. National Grid came in, they knocked down the stone walls, they knocked down a bunch of other stuff, and they cut a bunch of trees that were outside of the original thing. They said, oh, well, we have 3 different ones. We have that one, we have an updated one, and we have the latest one, and the latest one is 250 feet wide. She said, nobody ever signed anything saying that was increased. I know that she had a lawyer, and she was talking to National Grid about it. I don't know what ever came from it.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about right-of-ways, but utility companies do have, I don't know if they have the right to take, I don't know if utility companies are different than...
Well, it still would be an eminent domain issue, it seems to me.
Right, I would think, and they would have to pay.
I mean, we've been referring to it as a right-of-way. I think it's an easement.
Yeah.
And I think it's
It's a what?
It's an easement. It's something that would be recorded that gives them the right to go into that area and do maintenance.
I'm not disputing that they're right away.
No, you're disputing the width of it.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
They told me that they were going to go from the center of the tower, original tower, 45 feet, and plant a pole. And then they were going to go 90 feet from there to the edge that was going to be the edge of their right-of-way. Well, that's more than 125 feet. That's 135 feet. They seem to be keeping within the 125 feet. So I have no problem with that. But the problem I have is they're in the brook. Originally,
At the brook. They're not in the, they're at the brook. The edge.
In some cases, they're cutting down, well, I don't know. When I originally moved here, I thought that it would be nice to build a little bridge across that stream. so that my kids could go from the house across the bridge and go right up Main Street beside the package store, and then get to the middle school and also be able to go to the high school rather than walk all the way around or have my wife drive all the way around. But then I found out you can't do anything within the edges of the stream or the brook. So I didn't do it.
Well, I don't know who told you that, Mr. Looney, because there's a process to be followed. You know, it's been around for a very long time, and you
Yep.
could have, you know, you could have filed with this board and most likely have put in a little footpage. So I don't know who told you that, but...
Yeah, well, I was looking at the laws, I didn't want to bother you. A friend of mine has had problems with National Grid up in the northern part of Worcester County. They are putting poles in and going down through his property. They went in and they ripped his fence down, they drove in, all his livestock got out. They chopped down, he has farmland, and he might have a different kind of right-of-way. They cut down all the trees under the power line, and he had fruit trees under there, which, according to his right-of-way, he was allowed to do. I don't know about this.
We don't know the details on that,
Yeah.
certainly, but...
And also, they wanted to put a pole in, you know, just like they're going to do on this one. And they were willing to pay him for that. I don't know if they paid anybody to be able to put in the foundation for these poles, because that is, you know, according to him, that was not in his lease. I don't know if it's in
Yeah.
his.
See, we don't get involved in the right-of-ways and easements and all those legal things. That's not our purview. We have no jurisdiction over that. All we have jurisdiction over is what's going on within 100 feet of a wetland.
Do you know if this is Asian longhorn beetle thing? Because they originally said that they would either remove the trees from the property after they were cut down, or they would leave them stacked up for the residents to use in a fireplace or something.
You know, not to interrupt you, sir, but we could probably, if Michael would consider it, we could probably add in your motion to, Mr. Coyle seems to be the coordinator of issues involving Asian longhorn beetle, and I know that there was a quarantine area in the Packagug Hill area, and I don't know how far down it extends. I don't know if it was ever expanded.
I don't think it gets.
I don't think it goes that far, but he would be able to tell us if it did, and he'd also be able to tell us if it's an area where they can't remove the wood, or can they leave it, can the residents take it? I think he could tell us that.
I think that's more of a Board of Health. Andy Pelletier's. We have literature and everything about the Asian longhorn and the areas they're in. I mean, I'm sure Bill's versed in it too, but...
Who's the tree warden these days?
We don't have one anymore, I don't think.
Well, we probably rolled it into his job, so my guess is he's the point man.
Okay.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
probably the designated tree warden.
that's fine. I have no problem in amending my motion to include an inquiry on the extent of the quarantine area for the Asian longhorn beetle.
Anything else, Mr. Woody? Okay.
Like I say, I was only worried about, you know, the erosion in that area. The little plants like the jolly jump ups or whatever you call them.
Jolly jump ups?
The little things that are down there.
And that area floods all the time, every year. It floods.
There's vernal pools there.
Yeah, but there's nothing certified. There's no certified vernal pools over there. All right, there's a motion on the floor with a second to make an inquiry to the town, to the DPW director to see what we can find out. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. All right, thank you.
We're just about
An extra
done.
plan ahead if you wanted to have it.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is discussion, 325 Leicester Street, Halliday. I don't know why She's got a new notice of intent coming at some point. I don't know why it's still on here.
Then we can just go over it.
Yeah, and tell she was.
Because it hasn't been filed yet.
Right, it's in the process. We don't have it yet,
Okay.
unless there's something else that Sheila can tell us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Oh, that's not till next month.
Just have to wait.
What is that?
So you're for a site walk on Saturday?
Possibly.
I love that definitive statement. When will you know definitively?
Saturday.
Probably.
Okay. We can take our bikes if you'd like.
Why they said that.
Are you
That'd be
really?
a good idea.
Are you doing that? Are you actually you're riding your bike to Shrewsbury every day, or whenever you work?
When the weather's good, that's my intention.
I understand your intention, but how are you getting there? You're not taking Route 9, are you?
Partly. Belmont Street.
I'd be
Oh my
a
gosh.
little scared. Because those drivers out there, they'd be crazy.
Well, the last time I did it, I only took part of Belmont Street. Basically, I took, before Belmont, it's Franklin to, I think it starts with a P, and that comes into the side of Belmont, and then I go down the bottom of Belmont across the bridge, and that's basically work right there.
So you get Franklin to Plantation?
Plantation, is it? Okay. So, I can avoid Shrewsbury Street to the upper part of Belmont that way. But, you know, of course, I'm also crossing stuff like Kelly Square and, you know, elsewhere.
Exactly.
But the things I do to help save the planet.
I understand. Well, someone's got to be a martyr, right?
You know, it's only 8 miles. I don't have to drive my car 8 miles to and from work.
So you can get there in, what, half an hour?
30, 40 minutes, something like
That's
that.
not bad.
And every time I go 30 miles, I save, it'll be $4 a gallon again before you know it, plus wear and tear on the car. I've heard some calculations that say it's what, like $1 a mile? When you consider wear and tear on your vehicle plus gas. So,
Oh, Sheila.
means I might have saved $56 last week just riding the bike to work.
How much?
56 miles, so $56
But
bucks.
have they calculated what it costs you in time and wear and tear on the bike?
Well, it's good. It's great exercise.
Fair enough.
There's always an opportunity cost.
It's a lot easier to fix a bike when it breaks, and it's a lot cheaper
Can you
too.
get bicycle insurance?
Probably.
You should be able to.
But then again, my
Concept
bike
is the
isn't
same.
really worth enough to insure.
I tried.
Apparently there's some notifications they got for a hearing, which isn't tonight.
So what else can we talk about?
Well, I hate to have her miss.
We're gonna have a week of weather like today, pretty much.
I know,
It's incredible.
Beautiful.
Sheila, are we returning here?
Okay, good, I appreciate it, thank you.
It's definitely must-see TV.
Thank you for returning. We've been waiting.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Why is 325 Leicester Street Holiday still on here?
Just because I've been waiting for her to come in with something, or, you know,
Okay,
she
we
was...
don't, until we have a filing, we don't.
Right. Okay, I'll scratch it off.
Okay.
She knows she has to file and talk
Yeah,
to
you
Adam.
said-
Adam just gave me the file back today, as a matter of fact, and she hasn't done anything, so...
Okay. Bylaws. We got a copy tonight, so we have to go through them and
Really,
see if it's.
they look nice, Sheila.
Well, thank you.
So we'll have to go through them and see.
Is that a typo on the cover? Because didn't we just finish looking at it in May of this year, not May of last year?
No, the bylaws were adopted
Bylaws
last
are a
year.
year old.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
it's been that long.
Yes, it has.
Oh,
It took
okay.
like 7 or 8
to get
months
the
for the Attorney General.
regulations was
Right. It
a
took,
long time.
I think, like 8 months before the Attorney General approved the bylaw, and then we had to start writing the regulations.
Right.
So, all right, so that'll be some reading and hopefully something we can discuss at the next meeting.
think I emailed those to everybody too.
Okay.
Oh, the contact information for the commission. You can delete my home phone. I haven't had that for a while.
Okay.
And it might be worth putting in the area code for everybody's, just so there's no confusion on the cell phones. Even if it is 508, it might just be worth putting 508 there. Because some people on this have the area code and some people don't.
Yeah.
So my cell phone is 508.
Yeah, mine is not.
Some of them are 774, so.
Yeah, that's it. Usually if it's 508, I don't put anything.
And people's cell phones are all over the place in terms of area codes, so.
Right.
Okay.
I'll correct that.
New business, I don't know, it's kind of, we haven't, I don't know what we have. We can come back to that. Site visits, Kettleboro National Grid, we just talked about that. Enforcement orders, have we heard anything from Reliant Health, Reliant Medical?
I had sent it out to the property owner.
Right.
And that came back. And then,
What do you mean it came back? Unclaimed?
yeah. Let's set that right here.
You had a good idea there, Mike. I could ride my bike to the site visits if they're within a reasonable radius of each other.
I mean, that's just right.
Attempted, yeah.
You know,
Not
skip a
known,
jump, really.
unable to forward.
So do we have a bad address? It sounds like we have a bad address. Not
Are you
known.
going to start out at the Heritage, or you just
Well, that's
gonna
what
go
they have at
directly
the
to site?
assessor's office.
Well, if we're gonna stop at the Heritage, we need to get bike locks too.
What do you mean?
I'm all set. You guys.
I've got to get what you need. Sorry.
Okay. What are you saying about the assessor's office, Sheila?
Well, that's the address I must have gotten from the assessor's office for the owner of the property. This information from the
Well,
assessors.
sometimes if it's just the street address, that's not necessarily their mailing address. The tax office would be where you'd get that from, but I can't imagine that, it's Reliant, isn't it?
Well, the assessor's office, you know, has the owner with their, you know, I sent it to 120 Front Street, Worcester.
That's my office.
Is it?
I thought they were at 100 Front Street.
Well,
They're in the Mechanics Bank Tower, not the other one.
and I've got Care Fallon Clinic, SNH,
But they're
Med
not.
Office
They're not even
Realty.
Fallon Clinic anymore.
No,
It's
Reliant.
Reliant, yeah, it's just Reliant.
Yeah, I was confused by that. When did that change?
Oh, quite
It's been a
I
while.
didn't even
Yeah.
realize it.
What about the one to Gustafson Plumbing?
He received his. Yeah, I got that card back. Haven't heard anything from them.
When did he sign up?
July 12th.
I'm sure we can get a better address for the Millbury Street location.
Okay. I can hand deliver it down there if you want. I don't know who to bring it to.
I don't know who to bring it to, but first I would check to see what the tax office, where they mail the tax bills to.
Well, this is what they have.
Well, it's not right
Yeah.
because they haven't been going by Fallon Clinic for a long
right.
time. It might be Fallon Clinic Inc. DBA Reliant, but
And if need be, we'll have to hand deliver it. I mean, that's...
yeah.
And Gustafson Plumbing, they're the ones that committed the violation,
Yeah.
actually.
So
And they've had it for a month.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Do you want to consider a follow-up letter to them or something, or what do you want to do?
Well, I mean, it's been they were served a month ago, and they obviously didn't get in touch with us.
But you think that they would have gotten in touch with Reliant, which is,
You know, I don't assume anything.
No, I said you think that they would have.
Not necessarily. I think if the owner gets wind of this, because the service wasn't made, so they don't even know about this unless they're watching our program. So we should just try to get a better address, and I think we'll get a response from them.
And then if not, we'll have to try the hand delivery approach, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, somebody's got to be in charge up there, you know? 273 Washington Street, Mr. DeRozier, Todd Broder, Attorney Broder, sent in he went and recorded that order of conditions at the Registry of Deeds.
He did.
Sent us a receipt for it. So there is an order of conditions in effect on that site over there.
Yep.
So do we need a motion to vacate the enforcement order?
I think we do.
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. The Pappas Rec site, you have that as-built plan. Did we get an as-built plan from
I
them?
haven't seen one yet.
Oh. I thought
No,
maybe...
I just meant that we're still waiting for an
Oh,
as-built.
okay.
Has one been promised to us?
Well, aren't we supposed to be getting one?
If they request a certificate of compliance.
Okay, but have they requested a certificate of compliance?
No, they haven't.
They have not.
So that's just kind of hanging out there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. There hasn't been any reply from Mr. Coyle to our letter about the wet pond, right?
No.
Okay. We need to, back in June, when we opened our first two hearings on Massage Family LLC, we had one request to amend the original order of conditions.
I remember.
To reflect the work that they actually did versus what was permitted.
Right.
We closed the hearing on, I think it was June 12th, and we did not.
I thought we signed.
We never voted to amend. Sheila doesn't have one, and it's not in the minutes that we did one.
Okay.
So, we need to do that.
Well, okay.
I thought we had done it too, to tell you the truth, but we didn't.
Well, I think what happened was we closed the hearing and then they went into the new hearing.
That's right.
I think maybe somewhere in the middle we didn't catch the misstep, shall we say, but.
All right. So if we saw, I mean, do you know what document you're going to be referring to, Sheila?
It was an amendment for an order of conditions.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I mean, I know what was submitted to reflect the work that was done on the site. I just want to make sure we're absolutely clear on that.
Well, I have this plan here, and I think I put that in on the order. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then as long as the order reflects the plan, I think that's fine. So I would move to amend the prior conditions that was in effect for 50 Faith Avenue that we approved on June 12th, you say?
Yeah, June 12th.
June 12th.
We closed the hearing on June
public
12th.
hearing,
All right.
So we're amending the order of conditions to reflect the documentation that was submitted through that hearing process, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Is there a second? Discussion? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay, now we're down to minutes.
Here's the plan right here, noted on this plan here. Okay, you gonna sign this sheet for me?
Sure.
Do they ever attach this letter to the order? Is that ever done, or is it just specify the letter and date?
You're supposed to type amended order of conditions on the order.
There is a place to check that off, but what I'm saying is like what the actual request was.
I think, well, it's going to be recorded. I think the way to handle it is to make reference to the actual letter. But I suppose if we want to, we could attach a copy.
Yeah,
sure. And I think in this case we probably should.
Probably should.
Yeah,
Well, I just thought it was
absolutely.
more
Now that I think of it.
exact.
But you want to make it as exact as you can,
Yeah.
you know? Because
Exactly.
Right.
you don't want to leave any holes.
Any hanging chads.
There you go. Hanging chad, Dan.
Blast from the past.
And then I'll just explain the plan name and date and everything, and engineer. Okay, thank you.
We've got an awful lot of outstanding minutes here.
We do?
Yeah. I got lost in the March 27th ones. I'm not sure what we've corrected and what we haven't. In the last two sets, the 10th and the 20th.
I've got Some extra copies here if anyone needs them. So I wrote draft 1005. Does anyone need a copy?
Of which?
March 27th?
Probably, because I'm sure I've got.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I have one here, but I don't know if it's
I wasn't present, so
I don't know if it's
Okay.
supposed corrected or not corrected.
That is the corrected.
It's been corrected several times. I would move to approve the meeting minutes for March 27, 2013 as amended to infinity.
I'll second that. Get rid of them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will
Abstention?
abstain because I was not a member at the time.
That's a good reason.
Okay. We've got a good excuse.
Okay, there's one down.
Okay.
Not an excuse.
Explanation, that's right.
That's right, I'm sorry. I've got June 12th here if anyone needs a copy. I've just got 3.
I'll take a quick look again. I
Were you
have
here
them in
then?
the car. I believe that was my
when
first
you-
meeting.
Yes. Ooh, maybe you could frame that one.
This was
I
the one
don't
where
know
you
that it's
hadn't put his name in the first time that you did.
Hey, it could be.
I'm not one for trophies, Sheila. Oh, God.
I would move to accept the meeting minutes of June 12, 2013 as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Dan, did you need more time to read?
No, that's fine. If board members have seen it, I trust the board. I did review them, but it was a while ago, so.
Then we have June 26th.
I think I've got one.
Oops, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I've got another one here if anyone needs it.
I'm good.
I'll let you guys take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, so you had these, all these, my corrections from June 26th, you already had these?
Yeah. Yeah, I've added everything.
I would approve or motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 26, 2013 as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay, the two most recent ones we got in our packet, July ones. I have lots of corrections for both, so
Then we won't.
I don't
I
know.
asked that we table those to the next meeting. I didn't
Yeah,
have a
and I'll
chance to
get-
review them.
Okay,
That's fine with me.
okay.
Okay.
So that will catch us up except to the
Yes.
July.
If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion that we adjourn, Madam Chair.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you.